Sebastien Galy is a senior currency strategist at Societe Generale, and he joins me now. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We were talking earlier to one of our reporters in Switzerland who said that this really took everybody by surprise today. Had you been anticipating it?
Yeah, we had been actually positioned for that move for about a month, and actually a lot of, let's say, the smart players within Switzerland were positioned along the euro-Swiss franc, expecting that intervention and a move to 120 to 125 range over a 2 to 3 month range.
And why do you think they decided to do it today? Was there a particular trigger? I mean, we've all been watching this very carefully, but why now?
I think deep concern regarding what's happening within the Eurozone. Further evidence that things are not exactly going right within Greece and some of the other peripheral countries. We had basically Mr. Jordan, who's from the Swiss National Bank, deciding to cancel a meeting that he had on Monday. Right. And I think that in Frankfurt, I think that was a big clue that something was coming up. We didn't really know what was coming up, but something was coming up.
Now, I suppose the key question is how much can the Swiss National Bank afford to pay to protect the franc?
They can afford a tremendous amount. They have said it's unlimited, and we fully believe them. They will keep the peg at 120. It'll hold for quite a while. It's very easy to see that it should hold for at least 1 to 3 months. This is not last year when their back was broken. I think they have a deep problem. They have deep deflation coming into the pipeline. They have now political backing, which they didn't have last time around. And the entire economy, as well as the public, is very concerned within Switzerland. That means they can hold the positions as it did in the 70s, and it's not over yet in terms of what they will do. It's just a matter of time before we get the next type of policies.
Now, you used the word peg there. In your assessment, does this feel like a peg? I mean, the difference between a peg and a level?
It's very important because they said they would defend the 120 level. The issue is probably everybody still wants to be long Swiss franc. So the question is, what are they going to buy in Switzerland? And if they can't buy, the currency, essentially what they'll end up buying is fixed income. So the yields are going to go slightly more negative or to zero. And then they will buy real estate. And that means they will have to, the central bank will have to do something, or at least the government, to change that situation. People will buy their chalets. The skiing is really great over there in Davos, and they will be buying in Lausanne and Geneva. And it's just a great place, and it's a great investment. It's a bit like Hong Kong, and that means they will have an issue 1 or 2 years down the road with house prices, which basically start to go through the roof. They're not there yet, and that means the Swiss National Bank will have to do something about it before it happens.
Okay. Now, there will have been people who are caught on the wrong side of this trade. Who is that likely to be? Who has been affected negatively by what happened today?
I think there were a few bears. You could see that with a correlation with gold, for example, which basically reacted very poorly at the same time as the Swiss franc moved. Without giving some names, it's pretty obvious that I could see from some emails that 1 or 2 people were slightly nervous. But most people were somewhat expecting it, particularly the ones who were based in Europe and the US also, and I would say very much some of the local guys within Switzerland.
So what happens then when you've got one currency, the Swiss franc, that's now being protected? What does that do to currencies like the Japanese yen? What happens there? And also HSEC put out a note today saying that the Norwegian krona is perhaps a better haven than the Swiss franc.
Yeah, I think they have a fair point to say that at least in the short term it is the case. Norwegian krona has, I guess, everything right. The only thing that they have wrong is they have a central bank which has absolutely no compunction in intervening in the FX market, so one shouldn't get too excited about that one. Nonetheless, it has good opportunity. It was also completely mispriced. That is, the Norwegian krona as well as the Swedish krona was massively underperforming relative to where it should be. It's basically playing catch up. I wouldn't get too excited on the Norwegian krona, but it still has some potential. The issue for the Japanese now is that they will become emboldened. And they will have a good incentive to move and basically set their own lines in dollar yen, which is, again, a good story. Will also reassure the equity markets within Japan. It should be a boost for them at this point in time.
And are there any other currencies out there? When you look at them, the strength of, say, the Aussie dollar, the Canadian dollar, where else will money go?
Well, I spent 10 years in Canada, so I'll say Canada's a good place, but ultimately it's actually not Canada, it's the US. The US is being bid. It's the only country which has a large fixed income market. There's going to be Operation Twist. It's actually an opportunity from a fixed income strategy point of view. It is a very big market. Nothing else is available in any sizes. If you want to intervene in the market, and the Japanese will have to, they will be buying US treasuries. That means the dollar is going to be bid across the board. Like Canada, it's a great place. Australia is also, should do decently. So it shouldn't be too bad.
Before you go, can I ask you to kind of put yourself on the line and say, when will Japan intervene?
I guess in the next few days, they always intervene. Behind the scene, they will have to move in a more formal fashion. They will be waiting for some kind of approval from the US, I guess.
Okay, very interesting. Sebastien Galy, thank you so much for joining us.